As we lead up to the season premiere of Awakened Anesthetist Podcast Season 4 on September 13th, I'm releasing this exclusive replay of the live interview I did at CAAA 2024 of the current CAAA President, Danny Mesaros. In this really intimate conversation before a live audience, you're going to hear Danny talking about where he sees the profession going over the next 10 years, his thoughts on whether we will have licensure in all 50 states, and a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes discussion on what the CAAA presidency actually entails, whether or not he gets any money for his position, and how the CAAA spends your dues and its donations. We got into so much real talk in this conversation. Danny is such a genuine and inspiring leader and CAA. I know you're going to enjoy meeting him just as much as I did. So enjoy this replay episode if you didn't have a chance to be there live at the CAAA, or if you're a prospective AA student and are thinking maybe one day this profession is meant for you. I think this is going to be a really inspiring conversation. So I will see everyone back here on September 13th for the Season 3 premiere. And until then, be sure you're following Awakened Anesthetist on whatever podcast platform you currently listen. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. There is a link for that down in the show notes. And follow me on Instagram at Awakened Anesthetist for even more behind the scenes. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Awakened Anesthetist Podcast, the first podcast to highlight the CAA experience. I'm your host, Mary Jean, and I've been a Certified Anesthesiologist Assistant for close to 2 decades. Throughout my journey and struggles, I've searched for guidance that includes my unique perspective as a CAA. At one of my lowest points, I decided to turn my passion for storytelling and my belief that the CAA profession is uniquely able to create a life by design into a podcast. If you are a practicing CAA, current AA student, or someone who hopes to be one, I encourage you to stick around and experience the power of being in a community filled with voices who sound like yours, sharing experiences you never believed possible. I know you will find yourself here at the Awakened Anesthetist Podcast. Welcome in. Welcome to the first live recording of Awakened Anesthetist Podcast. I'm just going to give you a little bit of... Yay! Thanks, guys. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on me. We'll maybe give some people some time to walk in. But I started podcasting in 2021. Very not because of anesthesia, but because I needed an excuse to talk to my husband more during the pandemic. We really needed an opportunity to work on us. And so I was like, let's start a podcast and let's have it be about our marriage. And lo and behold, I fell into podcasting, into this medium that I really love. I have always been a closeted storyteller, and just one of the things I hold so dear is being told a good story. And I really wanted to do that for other people. And then as I got going, I realized that the people I really want to speak to are my profession. And I looked for resources. I looked for people online, people who are talking about things that I want to talk about as a CAA, and I just didn't find any. And so I thought, well, I guess this means that I will start a podcast for my profession. And so Awakened Anesthetist was really born in 2021. I didn't release anything till late 2022, I believe. And since then, it's really been an opportunity for me to meet so many of you, and an opportunity to do things like this and to talk about the things I really care about, which is how to use the CA profession to live your best life, how to discover who you are outside of anesthesia, and come on in, and how to find a community that really can connect in a way that I think CAAs are uniquely able to connect. So thank you all for being here and supporting this live episode. I start everything with a little timeout, as I call them, just to get us sort of familiar with our guest. And so Danny Mesaros is my guest today. I will be doing one of the process episodes, and I'm really interested in understanding who Danny is as a human behind the CAAA presidency. So Danny graduated from the third class ever out of South Savannah in 2008. We would have been classmates because I actually almost interviewed there. So Danny and I were almost classmates, and worked in Georgia and then DC, and then found his way to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he works full time. He does a mix of like 8, 10s, and 12s to kind of have some days off during every other week. And among a full-time CAA career, you're many other things, like a dad to 4 boys and a husband and a leader and a mentor and a colleague. And so I really welcome Danny to Awakened Anesthetist, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. I like starting it off with a rapid fire round, actually, because I think it sort of gets us comfortable. And also, I have found that I am a little bit interested in your behind the scenes. And so I asked on my Instagram for what rapid fire questions CAAs wanted to know. And we struggled to understand what a rapid fire question was. I got a lot of long-winded questions, which is kind of my out. But the number one question I got was, Danny, who is your favorite coworker?
Oh,
A lot of people are vying for the position.
So this has to be a current coworker?
I got it several times from many former coworkers.
Oh, well, I'm definitely not going to say anyone I'm working with now because that would just cause trouble. But I have to say Lainey DiLoretto. This is a very easy answer for me.
Awesome. Wonderful. I have spoke to her about you, actually, when she
no.
found out I was interviewing you. What time do you get up in the morning and go to bed?
Oh, for like work?
Just on a general basis.
I like to stay up late and watch TV. That's sort of my time after the kids are asleep, or do whatever, or work on Quad A stuff. I don't know. I probably go to bed 10:30, 11 and wake up at 5:45.
And do you get to work early then if you get up at 5:45, or are you scooting in last minute with a bad excuse like me?
I do not like to scoot in last minute.
Okay. Shameful.
I like to be ready and be able to sit and have a cup of coffee. I'm not saying I don't do that, but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
I often find when I scoot in late, the patient has something that extra that I need to take care of, and I don't want to be the thing holding everybody back.
Yes.
So
Yes. That is really good, Danny. I could learn from that. Last question. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
Oh, what did I want to be? Man, that's a tough one. I wanted to be the president of the United States, I think, when I was little. My dad used to call me Tsarevich.
Say more. I don't exactly understand Tsarevich.
It's like this Romanian leader or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I think when I was in kindergarten, I was like the president of the kindergarten class. And I was the reason kindergartners got to go to the salad bar. Oh. Because we weren't allowed to go to the salad bar. So
what a claim to fame.
Yeah, right. Apparently is a thing. I don't remember.
Awesome. I love to have my guests answer this first question because I think it's really interesting to look back on who we were, especially as children, and kind of see what molded and shaped us. So take us back to little Danny. Sort of what was your upbringing? What culture were you brought up in?
Sure. Born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. My family is Irish Catholic. I am number 4 of 4 boys. So I was a late addition to the family. So my brothers are a little bit older than I am. So I got picked on a lot by them. In a good way, though, right? But they wouldn't let anybody else pick on me. But I do remember getting dropped in the trash can and all those kind of things that brothers do. But yeah, so born and raised Irish Catholic. My mom taught in an all-girls school. My dad was actually a coin dealer, or as I did a book report on when I was little, a numismatist. So we had to define that. So it was a really good upbringing as a child, you know.
And where along your path did you realize you maybe were going into medicine, or you found the CAA career kind of early or late? Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. I was always interested in biology or sciences. I didn't really know. Everybody in my family was sort of that business path. Sort of going to the University of Georgia is like a thing with our family. Both my parents went there. All my brothers went there. I graduated from UGA. My nieces are there now. So when I went to Georgia, I was pre-med, but I also didn't really know if I could do it, to be honest. There wasn't like this individual that's like, I guess I like self-doubt a lot. And I still do that today, but I was like, I don't know that I can get through medical school, or I was really nervous about it. So halfway through, I sort of joined a physician assistant club at UGA, and a AA from Emory came and spoke at the PA club. And that's how I found out about the profession.
And you were hooked right away and thought,
oh man, I was like, look at this. It's like, it looks really challenging, really rewarding. And it's not what I want to do, but I would get this huge head start on like the knowledge base. And then I could go back to medical school if I wanted, but like, I was definitely hooked. Yeah.
I'm interested, when in your career did you realize, oh, this is the thing I'm doing, as opposed to this is the thing that's going to lead me to medical school? Did you find that out when you were in AA school or further along your path? That's
a really good point. I don't know. I mean, I always have that thing in the back of your mind. Like I think in this point of my career, because I self-doubt a little bit less, and I recognize that maybe some of that self-doubt has sort of pushed me to higher levels, and maybe it's like a good thing. I've still thought about it. Like, man, I could go to medical school, but I'm like, man, that would be financially irresponsible. And in addition, I have 4 kids, and I want to spend time with them. And I recognize that my wife would disown me if I
would be a hard journey.
Yeah. To be honest too, is this profession, and part of your podcast too, is it opens a lot of doors for us to do other things. And if I went to med school, and I know I could pass the MCAT, and I know I could get into med school, and I know I could be a good physician, but then I have the feeling that that would be all I was going to be. Right. I remember in AA school traveling, and I think I was in St. Louis, where we trained with the residents there, and a lot of them were divorced in residency already, and it was like a huge percentage, like 8 out of 20 or something, and it just sort of stuck with me. Like, I want to have a family, and I want to, be engaged, and if I maybe go that route, maybe that's the only thing I'm going to be able to do. And I just feel like there's so much other stuff out there that we can do and be a part of that this job affords.
Yes. Yeah. I totally see that in my own life. And that had to be revealed to me in my own life as well. Like, I didn't see it maybe as early as you saw it. So that's really interesting. I'm curious, when you were working, what you knew about the Quad A and the Quad A presidency and getting involved politically. Was it on the top of your mind when you graduated? Like, okay, I want to be president of the United States or the president of the Quad
A? No. I was always involved. Like, I came as like a student. I came to Quad A, and you meet all these people. And back then there was probably like 300 people at the meeting.
Yeah.
And it was much more intimate. And we had a lot of fun. It was just fun coming to the Quad A, hanging out with your classmates and seeing preceptors out of the OR. And so I liked that environment, and I knew I wanted to be involved, but I did not think I would ever be president of the Quad A. No chance.
And what was your journey? I want to ask you a very specific question about saying yes to the presidency, but what was your journey leading up to that? Had you done some other things leadership-wise?
Yeah, I really got more involved when I went to D.C.
Okay.
The president of the Quad A, Cyril Patel, worked for our group, and Carrie Twitchell was actually stepping into the role as president, and she needed somebody to run the annual meeting committee. And I have no clue how to run a meeting, right? But my wife was an event planner in Savannah, very successful event planner, and they were like, get him to do it. His wife can help him. Right?
Small community. Knew your wife.
So I went from just being a Quad A member to the chair of the annual meeting committee. And I remember talking to someone on the committee saying, hey, I'm going to be involved with this. They're like, oh, yeah, you're not the chair. I was like, no, I think I am. So I didn't realize how big of a job it was going to be until it was sort of thrust upon me. But I think that's the way our organization was in the past, is we only have so many people that do these volunteer roles. And now when I'm in that role, I see people that have something inside. I'm like, I know this person can do that role. And like, you just make them do it, make them say yes, and then they're successful at it. And so.
Yeah. Yes, I see that playing out in our profession in real time, that people are stepping into roles they never thought they could have or take. And I think one of the missions of my podcast and speaking to you right now is to see that, like, okay, well, Danny is a human being right here doing a whole bunch of other things as well as being the Quad A president. what is possible for me in my life. I just think that's a really interesting narrative to see play out in front of you that the CAA profession hasn't had before. So I totally agree. I want to hear about the moment that you said yes to the Quad A presidency, because I believe there were a couple of moments preceding the yes, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I can go into those. I don't really necessarily think it was a moment when I said yes. I mean, I remember texting sort of some of the leaders and saying yes, but it was really a time when I talked about it a lot. Like it wasn't just a decision made. Like we have 4 kids, and I knew how much time it was going to be. And when I commit to something like that, I'm all in. So I needed to make sure that my wife and my kids were on board with this. That's actually part of it. I think it's the best thing I did because it's made it easy. All these meetings we do, not one time since I started has my wife ever rolled her eyes that I had a Quad A meeting. And it happens a lot. We have a lot of pop-up Quad A meetings or this or that. And the fact that I don't have to feel more guilt about taking time away from our family because she doesn't do that. Like that means a lot to me. I think that sort of falls into the planning of it. I think the bigger moment, it would be the more when I said no.
Yeah.
I was asked to be Quad A president before, and I immediately said no. And then that night I was like, hey, hon, guess what happened for me today? I got asked to be a Quad A president. She's like, well, what'd you say? I said, well, I said no. And when I said no, it was easy to me because we were so busy at home. I knew it wasn't right. Like we just weren't going to be able to make it happen. And so I knew that I should say no. But then her response to that was, what do you mean you said no? It was like the complete opposite of what I was thinking. She's like, that's such a big deal. Yeah. You have to go back to them and tell them you'll consider it and figure out more information about it. So it was just interesting that her support from that side to me to keep doing these things, even though, the sacrifice that it was going to mean.
Yeah. Did you say yes? Was that the same year you said yes, or did you wait?
No, okay. I ended up saying no. No, I said no. It wasn't right. And for us, that was really crucial because right after that was when COVID hit. And then we had a COVID baby. So we had a 4th child. So I would have been president of the Quad A during our 4th child and COVID. And let me tell you, that would not have gone well for us.
That would have been difficult.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your day in the life, because you've talked a lot about juggling all of these things and how it was the right season for you. But I'm still interested to hear sort of the nitty gritty, because I think that adds a lot of perspective of what it actually feels like to be the Quad A president. So give us maybe a day or a week. Okay. If a day is hard.
Well, I'll start with the why it's the right time for us. I said no because our kids were really little. And I thought that, man, when they get just a little bit older, there'll be more time, right? It's completely wrong, right? Completely wrong. When your kids get older, they have these sporting events and they're going to remember you being there. And my oldest son is 11 and he's starting to get into those things. And I said, if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen. And that was sort of the reason I said yes. And that was part of the plan is like, hon, if I don't do this now, it's not going to happen. I'm okay with that. But I do have this feeling that I need to do it. Yeah. Now, what does a day look like? It's sort of cyclical in terms of the weeks, right? I'll give you next week. Like we have I work an 8-hour shift. We'll get home. We'll have a meeting at 4:30 to 5 with our federal team. We'll have a state meeting with my lobbyist because, we're going for licensure in the state I'm living in right now in Michigan. Right. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm president of the MAAA too.
Oh, naturally.
Naturally. Right. They twist my arm into that. So then right after that, we'll have the president's call where it's the 3, the immediate Nicole and Jen and our executive director. We'll get on the call and we meet every other week.
Can you say just briefly a little bit more about how the Quad A presidency is a 3-person job real quick?
Yeah, I would say it's a 3-headed monster is the way I sort of describe it.
I won't tell them you said that.
Oh, they'll hear it. I tell it to their face. This role is way too much work for one person to handle. Imagine like you have your kids at home, you have your job, you're getting all these other stretches, and a state or somebody from your friend calls from, we'll just say New Mexico, and they're like, we need this now. And you just can't always meet that. You just can't do it. It's just too much. So this is really a 3-person job. And it's great because I can't always travel because I do this, and Nicole and Jen will take those extra efforts out of their time and handle it. Or Jen's busy doing this and I can step in and handle it. And we really, you think of the role as a president, like my presidential year, like what am I going to achieve? It's really a 3-year deal. Because the successes of this year aren't all my successes. They're from Jen last year and Laura the year before that and Crystal the year before that. And we keep pushing this boulder. So that's sort of the 3-headed monster of a volunteer position.
A volunteer position. That was news to me. I did not know that the Quad A presidency and every position, correct?
Yeah.
Every position on the Quad A is volunteer.
22 volunteers run your organization.
Yes, that's a separate issue to discuss on a separate day. But yeah, that's incredible. Sorry, go on.
Back to the day.
Yep.
2 meetings, 4:30 to 5 to 5:30, and then we have the president's call, which is an hour at minimum. And sometimes it runs over a little bit, but and then depending, we'll have a board meeting quarterly, and then so I think there's 8 board meetings because there's an interim, and then our EC every second or third president's call, we make it an EC. So Emily, our treasurer, and Lily, who's our executive committee chair, she sort of comes in and they sit and we talk about the issues that are sort of going on. And that's sort of what a normal week looks like. But then you have state meetings pop up. You have state academies. You have text, emails, anything that someone would need. And you know, our profession, like, oh, well, let's just pick Georgia. Like, oh, well, there's a practice issue in Georgia and people might lose their job. Like, they look to us and they call us and they text me on the phone. And it happens in the OR sometimes. You're like, oh, I got like 52 texts because something happened. And so it's definitely not something that one person can do on their own.
Yeah. How often is a Quad A representative going out to these big issues? Is that normally what has to happen? Someone shows up?
Thankfully, one of the good things that came about COVID is Zoom. Everyone's comfortable with Zoom. So it's really made it more feasible for us to be there. But it's more a text like, this is the issue. How can you help me? Or this is what's going on. And it's not just how can you help me? Most of the time it's, oh man, like I really got to help this person. Right? Yeah. It's really hard. And I think at different times you have different things happen in your work, right? That you can't control or you don't know the answer to. And you want to look to somebody for that answer. And sort of Quad A, we want to be that answer for members. And I think a lot of people they think they're safe a lot of times in your job, until you're not. And then you don't have any experience on how to fix this. Right. And that's where, fellow CAAs need to step in and help you.
Yeah. I have a couple harder questions, maybe. Let's start with
that's what I'm used to.
Easier, harder question.
Enough of the softballs.
What part of the presidency do you dread? What part really keeps you up at night?
What do I dread? Well, I dread when we get those things where you can't help somebody. I'm losing my job or they're not going to hire me because of X, Y, and Z due to some opposition or whatever. And sometimes there's nothing we can do about it. We just don't have a fix. So that I don't like. Come the 4th or 5th meeting of the week, I will say it's a little dreadful. There are weeks where we have Quad A or something related to anesthesia meeting every single night of the week. So that can get old pretty quickly. I'll be happy that next week when there's like nothing. Yeah. But we try to take it easy on each other too. Like, oh, Jen's sick. She's not going to make the meeting today. Right. Or whatever the call is. Hey, my kids are going crazy and it's like Lord of the Flies in the other room. Let me step away for 5 minutes. Yeah. So I would probably say that what I hate the most is some of the negative stuff you read on Facebook.
Say more about that. I'm not on Facebook. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know specifics.
It's not that I hate. I look at Facebook differently. I look at some of the stuff written on Facebook. I think of Facebook now as a place for people to vent. Right. And say, I'm not happy. This is what I'm not happy with. As a provider, as a CAA, nothing to do with the Quad A. There's times when I'm not happy and I want to vent too. And I want to, why can't we make this work? And what I've found is the venting doesn't help me any. I mean, sometimes I feel better afterwards, but is the problem fixed? And I think that sort of goes into why I'm here. This is Quad A President. This is my chance to get back at whoever else is doing the things I don't like. This is my opportunity to say, no, or this is not how it's going to go down. This is my chance to sort of push back.
Well, now you've opened the question of what are you pushing back on this year? What do you not like, Danny?
Oh, man.
That you can share.
What do I not like? Mm-hmm. That's a toughie. I mean, my wife's family is from Michigan. I want to be able to practice in Michigan. Mm-hmm. Why can't I go and practice at any facility in Michigan? Right? Now, it happens to be that where we want to be is CAAs are hired there, but we have one employer there. It's ridiculous. I would let me take care of your family. That's, you know what I mean? I think you should feel like that. You want to be the best provider out there. And the fact that we can only work at one place, it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I'm mad about it. But I'm not going to go and like yell and scream about it. How am I going to fix it?
Yeah.
Right. And I think when you ask a question or how can you fix it? How can we fix it? Like that's what it should be about. Mm-hmm.
Is that what you would tell the people on Facebook who are upset? Like, is there anything else those people can do? Because I have coworkers, I know people who are disenchanted with the Quad A, or why aren't we doing this? Or why doesn't the profession do that? And it all feels like it has a shred of truth to it, but I don't know what's the next step.
Yeah, I like that question, actually. Like, me too. I'm mad. Why aren't we practicing every state? Why can't we do this? Why do we have X, Y, and Z? I don't really want to get into the issues, but I'm mad about it too. I think venting is helpful, but I think what I would like them to know is who runs the Quad A, right? Like 22 volunteers run the Quad A. I'm a dad of 4. I have 42 million different things. And the last thing I want to do on a Friday night is click on that Facebook because I'm addicted to the phone like everybody else and read something about, me personally.
Yeah.
And what I'm not doing. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I have to take a step back. And, generally what we do is I'll start texting the text chain between the 3 of us and we can vent to each other, me, Jen, and Nicole. Mm-hmm. Like, but when I take a deep breath, they're venting because they're not happy about things in our profession. Mm-hmm. I would ask them to consider that if they're not happy with Quad A, maybe they're not happy with the people that were running Quad A before. Mm-hmm. Maybe, or those people didn't have the resources to fix the things that were needed. Mm-hmm. If you're mad at Quad A, that's just like a name. Like Quad A is 22 AAs that are willing to give their time to help push the boulder in the way we want it to. Mm-hmm. So why are you mad at your coworker for trying to do something? Mm-hmm. I get that I can't get it all done, but I just wish that they would consider that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I message you privately, because I think some of the stuff you're saying is legitimate, come back and join the Quad A. Come help me do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Right? If there's a problem, let's fix it. Mm-hmm. I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Just a point of logistics, actually, as I'm thinking and listening to you as a CAA who would like to get involved in certain things. Everyone has kind of their area of interest. How does one join the Quad A? When does that happen?
Sure.
Besides the voting process, which I feel like we get those emails, so we maybe know that.
Did you mean like a member or like a committee?
Like a committee.
A committee. So on the Quad A website, anesthetist.org, there are committee chairs, and you can pull up their email via the directory and pop them an email, or you can email me.
Okay.
And we'll help you find a place to help. There is so much work to be done.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good to know. It's good to hear the Quad A say, over and over again, we need help. This is a volunteer crew. And regardless of whether that's the way everyone wants to keep it or not, that's the reality now, is that we just need more people to help.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, we need more people, but the game is about money too, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Like we need the money to afford the things that can help us drive forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Can you say a little bit more about the money? Because I think that's a conversation that people don't usually want to talk about. And I love that you just brought it up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
I love talking about money. Sure. So money for you, obviously your membership goes to different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The money that you pay for your membership. We have a management company that helps collect everything, organize the meetings. So there's a percentage of it that goes to that. We use a lot of the money for legislative efforts,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be hiring a lobbyist or whether it be hiring a lobbying team or
Mm-hmm.
DGA team. In the past 5 years, we've really taken steps forward, right? Obviously, our organization is growing, right? So there's more members, right? So then we actually have a little bit more money to be able to do big things. We have a federal team. We have that state team. And having somebody that can help those 22 volunteers is so crucial, or that has experience lobbying. We're not going into a new state who puts in a licensure bill and it's the first time they've heard of an AA or talked to an AA when they're deciding on this bill,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're starting to play chess instead of checkers,
Yeah,
right?
that's encouraging.
Right, and I want to play chess.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I mean, don't get me wrong. Double jumping somebody on checkers is fun, but as an organization, we need to make key moves.
Uh-huh.
And we're really, really thinking about big key moves.
Well, a lot of the non-rapid fire questions I was submitted were about licensure in all 50 states. When is that happening? How does that happen? How do we get CAAs in states that don't have CAAs currently? And how much of it is tied to money? And how much is it tied to manpower volunteering?
Money drives everything. Money drives everything. You know, if we had enough money to hire 3 CAAs to completely work for the Quad A, no, that would be amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that we could have those directly work on different things.
Mm-hmm.
There's always manpower that has to be on the ground in a new state, right? If you want to know 50 states, I don't have the answer to that. I have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've gotten 3 states in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the ball rolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is an argument that we don't even have to make. The anesthesia workforce shortage is real.
Mm-hmm.
We need more quality providers. And we, as a profession, as CAAs, like, we are the answer to that. We are the long-term solution to the workforce shortage, right? Physicians are one model, a nurse anesthetist are another model, and we are the answer that is not already tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
AAs don't pull from nursing shortage. There's a bigger nursing shortage than there is anesthesia shortage.
Interesting.
Right? I saw a number in Michigan where there was something like 8,000 shortages in the state of Michigan. 6,000 of those were nurses. Right? We need good nurses to do things.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe our profession helps lighten that burden that they have there that nobody talks about.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just so many like levers we could pull as a profession. It's almost overwhelming how many things we need to do. Is there any sort of, like, there's been so much growth, as you just mentioned, over the last 5 years. Where is the Quad A, or where do you as a CAA, not as the Quad A president, but where do you as a CAA see the profession going in the next 10 years?
Man, we are expanding incredibly. We have to do it carefully. We can't just expand without a plan, right? I would like to think more on an individual basis with that question. Like, and this will probably be something I talk about some point at the Quad A, like, I want to be the provider of choice, right? That is my goal. When there's a big case that comes in, I want the anesthesiologist to say, hey, put Danny in there.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to handle it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if somebody needs a request, like, oh, put Danny in there. He's going to do a really good job, and he cares,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think if we drive to be the provider of choice every day, then a lot of these problems will work themselves out. But it's not just on the Quad A or another organization to do that. It's on every CAA themselves to, keep their CMEs up, to study, to do the things that you need to do to be the best. And it can be a small thing. It can be like, I need to get to work every day 10 minutes early so that
I feel called out, Danny.
You said it though, right?
Yes. No, it's
I need to be to work 10 minutes early every day so that I am the most prepared for every case that could happen. Or myself, I need to put my phone down more and be thinking about my next case instead of in between cases. Or there's so much that we can do to be the provider of choice. And I think it's on every single, whether it's somebody training a student, right? When I have a student and they see how much I want to be the provider of choice, they're going to mirror that, right? We got to set examples on an everyday basis.
Talk to me about how your philosophy of saying yes sort of plays into that being a provider of choice. I love it. A little dribble never
This is the live podcast, so when you pour water down your face, everybody sees it. Saying yes.
Yeah.
I think that I have learned so much more from saying yes than I do saying no. I'm not saying you shouldn't say no. Just on a daily basis. Like, hey, can you stay late? Yes. I think that was sort of instilled to me when I first started at this trauma center in Savannah. Don't ask when you're getting off. Like, you're the new person. Like, don't ask. Don't be that person. Someone had told me that. I don't remember who. So I never really asked when I was getting off. Can you stay late? Yes. Be flexible. Always say yes in the clinical setting. And you'll get some different experiences that if you said no, right? And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I say yes and it hasn't been that great, right? You have bad things happen, but take a job interview, even if you're completely underqualified for it, because you're going to learn things about that job and you're going to learn more things about yourself. Like, okay, what are the areas I need to improve in? Yes, and don't get me wrong, you should have times when you say no. I am really bad at saying no. I'm trying really better to say no when it's appropriate. I feel better when I say yes. Yes just sounds better. I don't know. I feel good about myself. And now, don't get me wrong. I might be regretting it at 3:30 when I said, yes, I'll stay late. But yes has opened so many more doors for me than I think saying no would have ever opened.
What would be a success for you as the Quad A president? What would you walk away feeling like, all right, I did what I could?
I mean, like I said, it's not the 1 year thing. It's the 3 years. So I have another year and a half to sort of do this. Things that matter, obviously opening states, right? But let's Washington State, right? That just opened, right? Woo, it happened during my presidency, but that's been 3 years in the running, right? That yes and that greatness belongs to the people who before me who sort of got that ball rolling, right? So I want to get other things going that are going to continue, right? And what would be like a big success? What if, we need a new website?
Yes, Danny.
Right?
I second that. Yes.
That's all I'm going to say about that because we have a hint about that tomorrow, right?
I'm here for that.
All right. That's been on my radar for a long time, but that's not just me. Other people before me, right? I want to have people recognize that volunteers are running this organization and find a couple people that are called to do it. When you get one of these roles, if you're a committee chair, it's sort of on you to find the next person before you're out of it, right? I want to inspire some people to do this. I did not think I was qualified to be Quad A president. I still hesitate when they say that, right? Sometimes I'll do really great things. I'm like, man, that was amazing. And then other times I'll fall on my face. But then there's Jen and Nicole there to sort of, no, do this. And it sort of supports you. It's a supported role. I think that there are so many people in our profession that could absolutely run this organization, but they won't say yes to joining the Quad A or joining a committee or writing an op-ed piece or joining their state academy at least, right? there are so many smart, and so many people that are joining now are probably way smarter than I was when I became a CA. I'm sure you feel this
that.
too,
no,
right?
I totally feel that.
If I had to apply now,
Yeah.
I'd be like,
I'd be nervous. Yeah, I'd be a little
maybe
nervous.
I need to increase my
Yes.
application. But
Uh-huh.
time, you start to build this experience, and I don't really know where I'm going with this, but
Mm-hmm.
I just think that so many. I want more people to get involved.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a success. If 5 people come up to me and say, I'm going to do this because I heard your podcast, great.
Awesome. I hope that happens.
We'll see.
I love this question. This is sort of one of the points that I really look for when I look to talk deeply with other CAAs. And it's to talk about how you feel like you've used the CAA profession to live your best life, if you would agree with that, if you have more to grow, or if you feel like you're there now.
Depends on the time, right? Things change depending on where you are in your career. When you first start, I was a Quad A member, but I didn't do anything on the side. But then I started realizing that maybe I didn't want to be in the stressful environment that we're in when I'm 55 or 60, right? So what are my options? I'm a CAA. Like, this is our job. We're going to be in the OR. But there are other opportunities. There's education.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of spoke to me always. Anytime I had a student, I maybe I could be an educator most of the time, but I still want to be in the operating room. So there's flexibility in that. Even this role of being the Quad A president, it was we did the weighted scale, right? The pros and cons of doing this. I have the paper somewhere. I kept it because I thought it would be funny later to look back at. It opens opportunities for you to do different things. And for me, that was having a big family and being able to be there for my kids' things at times, and other times work more, or at other times educate students, which I do. And then other times, go to the Quad A, or go meet with the governor, or go do whatever you need to do. But I think, like I spoke to earlier, if I wasn't a CAA, I don't know that I would have the flexibility to do that. There's times in my career when I've grinded out 100 hours every 2 weeks and making as much overtime as we can. And I think there's times for that, but I also think there's times to take for yourself and work less, or to find what sort of makes you happy. Right?
I love that. I love the answer. It sounds like it's still evolving as well as
100%.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I figure out what I'm going to do when I get older. Right?
I love that. I love that conversation. This is my last question, actually. We did not go over time. I'm very proud of us, Danny. My last question is, I'm interested for those prospective A's who are listening, or the AA students who look to you as a leader. I think you maybe shy away from that, but that's just the truth of it. You're one of the examples of what it is to be in leadership as a CAA. And so I'm curious what you would tell your younger self, or to tell that early stage CAA that is listening right now that you wish you knew.
No, that's a good one. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. That's a big compliment. I think probably like most grads, when I came out of school, that I was sort of arrogant, right? You think you know everything, right? And maybe you don't think you know everything, but you think you're really good at what you do, right? And I always wanted to be the best. Like, I want to be the best anesthetist. And I think it took me some time to realize that maybe the best anesthetist doesn't think they're the best anesthetist, right? Maybe they think that there's so many areas that they can improve on, because then you're always learning, right? And it's evolved over my career as to like thinking, I don't think I'm the best anesthetist, but I know that like certain things I do are really good, and I need to continue to do those. So what would I tell myself? Well, I would try to say be humble, right? I always tell students is to, come early and stay late, right? That matters. That shows that you're engaged. Like, if someone's going to relieve you right before extubation, like, have some pride in your like case and say, you know what, that's probably not appropriate. Like, I'm going to stay and wake this patient up, make sure they get to the recovery room. And you can't always do that, but if you can, you absolutely should do that. You owe it to your patient, but it's just good quality care. Like, so I would say, be humble, show up early, stay late, and say yes. That's what I would say yes.
Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate your words and the opportunity to speak with you. You have fulfilled one of my dreams as a CAA, which is to have these types of conversations with the people who are leading us. So I appreciate that. And I thank you very much. Yay. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Great job.
Was awesome.